I'm going to do some work on this XK 150 Roadster, and you can see here that there's quite bad, obviously the metal's quite thin there. So what I'm going to do is from start to finish, I'm going to show you how I'm going to repair this, as I say, but from start to finish. So I've marked out the area where I want to cut it, as I say, I'll go right the way through the process so you can see it. So from cutting it out to cleaning it up to making the patch and so on, and then lead loading and finishing it off and priming it. And you can use this technique on many vehicles. Now, so the situation with this on this panel is that unfortunately the panel is it's a situation where it's inside a box section, and so there's no way of getting to it from the back or from the side. It's actually inside an enclosed box section, if you imagine. So now I need to work out how I'm going to get this out. What I want to do is actually make a patch which will fit inside this, and then I can lead load over it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the process of what I'm going to do. The reason I've made this slightly longer, and I'll make it, I could go at an angle, but what I want to be able to do is to be able to put the metal inside and then pull it out so I can weld it. So I'll go through this and I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do. So what I'll do first is I'll change over to this cutter. And I'll open this up. So what I'll do is I'll cut it open first and then see how we are. Okay, so the reason I've used this light grinder initially is just because it cuts so easily, or it cuts finer, if I should say. Sorry about the compressor, because it cuts finer. I just want to see where the edge of this is, because I can feel underneath that there's solid there. So I now see where the edge is, and I can now cut into it with the other cutter. So I've used the air grinder. One of the reasons I used the air grinder was because the disc is so small in diameter, and now I'm going to use this, but you can see it's much greater, and the control. So what I'll do is I'll cut the edges, and then I'll use this to fine cut so I don't go too far. So now, take this out. So, in this situation, if you weren't sure and you could drop this inside, what you could do is just weld on an old piece of scrap metal so you can pull it out, and which is exactly what I'll do in reverse to put the new piece in. I'll weld a piece or a few pieces so I can actually pull it out and re-weld it. So, let's have a look what we have behind. So there's the piece. You can see it was fairly bad on the back, and internally it's not great either. It actually needs sandblasting in there. So I'll bring you back when I've got it clean inside. Okay, so I've made up a little plate here, and I'll show you what this little, I made a little handle for it if you like, and I'll show you why I've made it like that. So, you just give me a second. So, I've made a couple of little lips on it so that they'll catch underneath and I can put it inside. And then I can use this to manipulate this and pull it onto where I need it for welding. So I'll just get a little tack weld on here. Get it right. Give me a second. There goes the plan on camera. Okay. You can see you see how this is hanging out now. I can actually use this to purchase against. You can see I can push that in. Now, what I can do now is hopefully open this up and pull this back against itself. Okay, so we've got the basics in there. So what I'll do now is I'll weld it up and I'll bring you back again, otherwise it'll take too long. So you can see I've put the patch in, I've welded it all in, and there's a slight bit of warp in there, so we can actually fill that with lead. And I'll do that for another day because I have to go out and do some shopping. But it's all solid in there now. Take the light out and you can actually, maybe you can see better. I don't know if that shows up. Maybe it does. That's maybe better. You see there's just a very slight indentation there. That's probably with the heat warpage because it was a very small panel, a very small patch, and it's probably a bit too much heat because I was doing it for the camera. It's just slightly there, but I can't get into it now. What I could do is actually put the spot welder. I have a tool for pulling out dents, and I could actually put it on there and pop it up. But there's no need. It's a very small amount. I'll just lead load that. So that's how to do a patch. The idea of using a piece of metal to pull against is it doesn't have to. It only has to be tacked on. All I did was just cut it off, cut the legs off afterwards. But it gives you something to purchase on to bring out. If this had been in a position where I could get to it from the back, I could have put copper behind to stop it going through, but it was in quite poor condition. And as you can see, there's the original one. That will show up. That's the original panel. And you can see it was pretty bad. It's quite thin on the back. So I hope that's of interest to you and gives you some idea. But there is different techniques of doing different things. I'm no expert in it, but I try and do what I can. So thanks for watching in.